Hello, I'm Nancy Hungerford, moderator and a former CNBC anchor, and I'm thrilled to be leading this discussion at what is a pivotal time for AI innovation. And now we're going to explore a little bit more about supporting TP experts in real time through AI. And I have a fascinating panel with me to lead this discussion. I'm pleased to say that Mike Lytle is here, along with Joshua Freedman, who is the CEO of 6 Seconds, the leading nonprofit teaching people how to use emotional intelligence. And also with us, Xiaoming Liu, professor at Michigan State University. So we have a great diverse perspective here when it comes to how to implement AI in the workplace today. And I'm wondering, Mike, if we can kick off with you, because one of the things we've been discussing is this need to balance efficiency, getting the task done, with the art of emotional intelligence and maintaining that empathy. What do you think the best way is to achieve that?
I think it's helpful to first talk about the efficiency side to get that out of the way. Most of the AI implementations for efficiency actually operate in the background. So the TP expert doesn't really see it. They just have relevant information delivered to them, processes that happen automatically. So it's kind of an automatic thing that occurs. On the other side, there are certain decisions that the AI will surface based on data, but they don't understand the emotional connection. They don't understand the cultural context of the conversation that's going on. So they present information based off of data. And the TP expert, who has the cultural context, who has the emotional context of the conversation, will decide which of those decision points they put in front of the customer. And that's the part where the emotional intelligence of the human really comes into play, assisted by artificial intelligence.
Okay. That's great to have that visual and practice of the two working together. I mean, Joshua, based on what you know through studying emotional intelligence, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think a lot of times technology feels like it's in the way for us, right? And it becomes a distraction. And, all of these systems, I think the holy grail is that they become invisible, right? And that they and you don't, I think as a customer, you don't want to hear somebody like typing and frantically trying to find an answer, right? Like that is not going to contribute to your sense of like, oh, this person really knows what they're doing. Right. And as somebody who's trying to solve a problem and support a customer, you don't want to be like, what the heck is this thing doing? Right. So the more any technology, I think, in our lives can just kind of sit in the background and let us do what we do well better, kind of amplify our strengths, whatever those things are. That sounds like a winning formula.
And Xiaoming, have you seen in your practice, I know you do a lot with facial recognition, for example, and ways that the AI can help the human expert do their job better in a way that perhaps improves their empathy?
Yeah, I think, in a lot of research we are doing, there's one technique we often use is called human-based reinforcement learning. Basically, human provide feedbacks regarding some of the AI, suggestion recommendations, right? So if that's the case, based on human feedback, you can essentially fine-tune your model to the point that in the future iterations of the model inference, you can produce more outcomes that's relevant to whatever top choice made by the human experts. So in that sense, if let's say TP implement this kind of real-time feedback or real-time recommendation to the TP experts, then this interactive data actually can become very valuable for future training of the TP specific models, AI models, right? Because this time I made a 3 recommendation. It happens the expert choose the option number 3. Eventually, this outcome might looks much better compared to the option number 1. So that kind of data become very, very valuable to TP.
Yeah. One of the things I find interesting about this situation of EI, AI together is that there are so many human interactions happening every day in this context, CX in general, but TP specifically. And so the ability to provide this kind of rapid feedback loop so that the AI is serving people better. And I think we have to be really careful as we think about this. Like, who do we really want to be in charge? Right. And I think that the notion that we're going to have people doing the people work supported by AI is absolutely the right place to go. And then people are also training that AI because AI is also going to be training us. And
Goes
we
both
need to be
ways.
careful.
And what you're describing, though, can the machine make the human more human in a way, like make them a better person to interact with? I mean, is that something you've seen at TP?
I think what's common for people in a contact center is to confuse sympathy and empathy.
Oh, that's good.
So where I think AI can play a role is by giving suggestions, nudges, by analyzing the word choice to create coaching opportunities where I use sympathy, where empathy would have been better. So there are some nudges, and there is some constructive coaching that can be pulled from AI models.
Okay. That does, yeah. Does that make sense to you, Joshua, when you hear that?
Yeah. I would say that the bad news is
Uh-oh.
in my lifetime, essentially every new wave of technology has been dehumanizing, right? And we look at all of the data about iGen, and people who've grown up with smartphones, becoming less connected, becoming more stressed, becoming less able to make kind of human connection. And my fear is that if we're not really careful with this work, that it's going to take away from our humanity instead of adding to our humanity. So I would say that the pivotal point here, which is why I'm excited about this work, is that by centering EI, and the way we're talking about it in these projects is EI AI, right? And really saying we need this emotional intelligence first, that the AI is going to support that, as opposed to saying, oh yeah, let's just replace people.
And right. And just to challenge that a little further, do you see a world in which the AI helps reduce, the menial tasks, the routine tasks, so then you can spend more time and attention on those that require your EI?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what machines are really good at is repetitive, boring things that don't require great creativity, that don't require great empathy. And maybe someday, they will be able to do that. But right now, at least in the near term, I think we need to look at this sort of boring stuff, get that boring stuff out of the way, kind of make it more seamless, make it more invisible. And so somebody can shine and really use their gifts.
Yeah. When you talk about all these inputs going into the AI, though, things that give you nudges to improve your performance with either a customer or just in your daily job, we think of the data involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everything that the machine is using as inputs. And I want to start with you, Xiaoming, on this one. I mean, what is your advice to those looking for the best way to respect customer privacy and just respect, the privacy of those who are concerned about their data?
Sure. That's certainly a very important problem. In academia, whenever we, let's say, collect data, especially human relevant data, right? Humans, speech, language, speech, as well as facial images, body images. Every time human relevant, we always do a independent review called RB process. The RB process will essentially ensure that the procedure you capture, or processing, store, and then even releasing data follow certain standard, follow certain procedures. So I think this kind of RB review process should be, applicable for both academia as well as industry sort of data collection process. So that's one perspective. Second perspective that I think with AI, we also sometimes having newer problems, right? For example, right now, whenever we talk data collection, not only, raw data, meaning generated by sensors, cameras, but also AI generated data, right? Because AI generated data become more and more similar to the real data to the point that you actually cannot tell the difference, right? So therefore, what would be the, process we handle the AI generated data? That's a tricky question. A lot of places I know, for example, certain companies trying to say that, okay, any AI generated data should have a parent, right? The parent can be the AI model itself, produce that AI generated data, but even the parent model is kind of learning the knowledge from the training data. So therefore, sometimes people even starting with AI generated data kind of trace back to not only the model itself, but also the training data of the model. Because let's say I draw certain paintings, maybe this painting, from AI model is very similar to the style of Picasso, right? So that way I can actually trace back to the source artist. So I think if that kind of thing can be taken care of, actually moderate, then we can know more about who's contributing what in the entire process.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think from a contact center perspective, there's tools that auto-redact PII, personally identifiable information. So we have essentially anonymized data that we can review and learn from without putting any individual information at risk. So that allows us to coach and develop contact center specific modules without risk.
I also think one of the most interesting use cases for this technology, it doesn't involve the customer data at all. And just focusing on the employees, focusing on kind of the feedback loops, prompting, coaching, prompting, a time to reflect. And that still, data privacy is important for our employees too, but it allows us to start thinking about how this technology can be used in a way that doesn't kind of cross this boundary of kind of affecting the outside world.
Yeah. I mean, when you put it that way, it makes me wonder, and if we have any test cases of this, that would be helpful too. What are both like the possibilities, but also the limitations of using real-time AI and a live brand interaction?
I think most organizations talk about near real time, at least in today's context from a technology perspective. If you're doing AI via speech, then the actual process is typically speech to text. It's then analyzed, text is created, and that text is now converted back to speech. So there's a lag that is almost undetectable, but there's still that slight lag where that dual processing is taking place. Where it's more relevant within the contact center space today is in real-time feedback to the employee. So AI can listen to an interaction and listen to the change in tone of voice of both the customer and the TP expert, so that you can see when the conversation is starting to shift from a positive interaction to a not so positive, so that you can start to change your behavior to ideally change the customer outcome.
Part of what we're doing with the training of people inside the organization to pay attention to those emotional shifts. And I think that it's not easy to do even as a human being. And so I think it's really not easy to do as an AI, but there's very promising developments in this area where kind of emotional nuance is being able to be picked up without the textual decoding, which is interesting. Just kind of, the vocal tone, the stressors, and it seems a lot of it is cross-cultural. So there's super interesting, like this is, I think, right on the cutting edge now of AI being able to kind of pick up emotional nuance that's pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think, ideally, right, when you're trying to process audio signal, you don't want to convert audio signal into text because a lot of information is getting lost in the process, right? Because even I say the same text, the way I say it convey a lot about my emotional status and so on and so forth. Therefore, processing the raw audio signal can get more in terms of sentiment analysis, in terms of to say where this shifting happens, because that's a critical moment to be detected, right? But on top of that, I also see additional value of this real-time kind of guidance provided by the AI system, because imagine, right, a lot of time from TP expert perspective, whenever someone call, you get certain attention of the callers, right? That's a key moment. You want to achieve certain things. For example, not only solving his problem, but also maybe make some recommendation in terms of what kind of product I can sell to the callers. That kind of selling activity can be assisted by the AI model. For example, AI model based upon the caller's background and previous, transaction history. Maybe he can recommend these three things that might be most interest to the callers. So that if the AI experts see that kind of recommendation, then they can, using human emotional intelligence, basically trying to convey the customer, yes, that's something you should buy, consider to buy. I see this is a new opportunity to be created in this kind of AI assistant, real-time assistant systems.
Are you seeing improvements in facial recognition, nuance detection as well? Because if we're talking about voice, I wonder when it comes to facial expressions as well.
Well, a lot of sentiment analysis could be done by using audio only.
Okay.
But if you actually have in a kind of Zoom call situation, you see the people's facial images, of course, that can be enhanced because of additional inputs.
And Joshua, I like that you bring up the honest truth, which is humans aren't always that good at like detecting or even observing nuance because we may be multitasking, we may be distracted, we may just not have a very high EI in that case. So this brings up the issue of trust. And when it comes down to using AI, I wonder how much autonomy do your TP experts need or should they have when it comes to working with AI for this reason?
I think if we go back to what we discussed earlier on the automated and efficiency side, it's more or less just a new way of working. So it's a change in workflow, a change in process. It becomes the new normal. When it comes to the decisioning process, it is 100% within the TP expert's control. The example you gave of 3 different offers that might be relevant to a customer, ultimately I, as that TP expert, am deciding based on what I've picked up through the conversation, what's the most relevant of these 3 options and presenting it in a way that makes sense to you in our context from the conversation. So I think at least in almost every implementation, it will remain the TP expert who's that decisioning criteria and not the AI.